The Porsche Cayman. There's not really much to say other than the fact that it's one of the best sports cars around, and over the last few years it's evolved into almost perfection. This time though, they've added some numbers to the name and more performance. But is it the car that we know and love? Well, let's find out. Now, the previous Cayman and all generations of the Porsche Cayman have all been, well, they've been brilliant, haven't they? They just drive so well, and they've always offered a delicacy and a refined sharpness to it that is just something that the 911 can't have, and that's obviously because that engine's in the back and this is in the middle. But the caveat has always been it's never had enough power to compensate for its really nice torque chassis. We'll get to that later on, but where this needs to work, if anywhere, is on a back B road, because if it doesn't, well, you're stuffed really. So has the turbocharged engine turned this into something of a ballistic missile that is too fast for the road, and you can't enjoy the manual gearbox, which this car has been spec'd with, and enjoy the balance of it? Is it still a proper driver's car? Can you enjoy it on a back B road? Well, the answer is yes, you can. First off, the steering. It's an EPAS system. It's been recalibrated, it's had a few software tweaks, and you know what? It's the best in the business. Yes, it's not going to have as much feedback as a hydraulic rack, but it's getting there. It's really, really nice, and you get a good suggestion of what's going on with the front axle. This particular car I'm driving is the GTS, the top of the 718 Cayman tree. It offers all the best options that you could spec on a Cayman S for at a discounted price. So think of it as a £3 Tesco meal deal. You get the best sandwiches, chocolate and drink for at a fraction of the cost. And yes, that engine, we've got the noise bit out of the way, but Porsche have really nailed the way this delivers its power. There's not much going on until about 2000 RPM, and you get this really nice linear response, but you don't get a kick as such. You just get this sort of linear delivery that almost feels normally aspirated until you look at the speedo and you realise, holy crap, you're going quite quick. But not too quick. That's the important bit. You're not going at a million zillion miles an hour, which I was worried about, because the last Cayman, yes, it didn't have the grunt it always deserved, and we know that for many obvious reasons. This though has got the right amount. It's just on the right balance. One thing I do like is the fact that although the gear ratios are still long, which the old car had as an issue, they're slightly shorter, and you can enjoy the manual gearbox. So in terms of it being a sports car on the road, it's fine. It hasn't lost any of that magic that we know and love of the Cayman. It still retains that eager playfulness that you can enjoy on a back B road, and that is the most important thing, if anything, of the Porsche Cayman, because the last thing you want is a car to be too fast for the public road to the point where you cannot enjoy it. So well done Porsche on that. I'm glad it's still a car that you can enjoy. So the Cayman is still a car that you can enjoy on back B roads. It's more comfortable and more easier to drive by at least 10-15% compared to the old car, and it's somewhat become a little bit more mature.
Now, before I actually mention the price, I have a spec sheet here with all the added options fitted to that car out there, and it's got the best part of £16,000 worth, which brings it to a total of £76,000. Now, if you check on Auto Trader, For the same sort of money, in fact, £2 less, you can get a 2016 14,500 mile Porsche Cayman GT4. Now, in my opinion, that sounds like a no-brainer. Or is it?
To find out what the Cayman GTS is like beyond the limit, we have to take it somewhere to let it loose, and where else better than the home of the British Grand Prix, Silverstone, and the Porsche Experience Centre's handling circuit. And then, joy of joys, it started raining heavily, so apologies for the slightly abnormal driving. And here we are, out here at the Porsche Experience Centre. As you can tell from the outside, weather conditions aren't really that ideal, but we still need to test what it's like, and is it worthy of that £76,000 asking price? Do you know what? In short, yes. Yes, the engine to most purists will not be happy. The fact that it doesn't sound as amazing as the 981 once used to be. But, in short, it's finally got an engine that can work this really nice chassis. Even in the wet, you get a nice suggestion of how it feels. It's like wearing an old baseball glove. It's so well oiled, and even though it's got an e-pass system and clever trickery underneath, it still feels as mechanical as a Porsche should be. Overall then, Porsche has made the Cayman GTS a much better car than its predecessor. For instance, it's much more compliant on the road and more enjoyable to use on a day-to-day basis. However, you guessed it, the engine note is by far the biggest disappointment, and one that lots of us and I admired Caymans of the past for. It lacks any soul or enthusiasm for the driving experience, which is crucial, and you come away thinking, who thought this soundtrack for this car would be acceptable? It sounds too wrong for the package, but on the flip side, the motor itself is super impressive. There's hardly not any signs of turbo lag, and the throttle response is nigh on excellent. Plus, the motor pulls hard and strong all the way to the red line with a nice linear power curve without any sudden turbo kicks. In short, it behaves like the old NA Flat 6, but goes like no other Cayman before thanks to the extra bits of torque. So what are we left with then? Well, I believe for the money it's still a brilliant sports car, and it finally gets the motor it deserves. For many years, Cayman fans have moaned and groaned about it not having a powerful enough motor to flex its sweet chassis, and Porsche have finally listened, and here we are with it. But it's just not in the way we all thought it was going to be.